What's up? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about a very mundane topic, but one that I think is mildly interesting. As you may or may not know from my previous videos on this channel, I am a collector of old computers, but there's another thing that I've inadvertently ended up collecting over the years just because they're cheap at garage sales, and that is old Wi-Fi routers. As an example, this is a Linksys E1000 V2. It has Wi-Fi 2.4 gigahertz, and it has a built-in 4-port switch. And really, that's the best use for these old routers, is you can use them as simple Wi-Fi access points. You could use them as Wi-Fi bridges. This one is actually running DDWRT, and it's set up to be a Wi-Fi bridge. So this connects to my Wi-Fi and then gives you Ethernet out the back. And you can also use them as just an Ethernet switch. Now, is it really a good idea to use them? To use old routers as an Ethernet switch? Not particularly, just because you're probably using more electricity than you would be if you were to use something such as this. This is a 5-port Linksys workgroup switch. As you can see, 5 ports. It's only 10100, so is this, but it only uses 0.7 amps, unlike that, which uses 1 amp. But like I said, this can't do Wi-Fi, which is part of the reason that I like getting these, because you can do a whole lot with Wi-Fi. So, for this video, I thought I'd just show off what I have in my router collection. And starting off, besides this E1000 I already showed, I have another E1000 that's brand new in the box. It has everything in it, and yeah, I've been thinking about, wait, what revision of the E1000 is this actually? It's another V2, but it hasn't been used before, so I think that's cool. Got all the documentation and stuff inside of it, so we could put that over there. Now, one thing on the back of any of the EX1 or EX000 boxes is there's a model comparison between the E1000, the E2000, and the E3000. Well, if I just put that box out of the way and then reach into off camera, I have a big old box of various routers. They just sit in this box until I need one for something. Then I go fishing in said box to obtain a router. And oh my god, the cord is tangled. We'll be right back. Alright, I have untangled the mess, and now I'm ready to present to you the Linksys E2000. That's right, the E2000. This is the next model up from the E1000, and I forgot exactly what new features it has. It has it does gigabit, and it also does 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, and it also has extended coverage. So this one actually has a gigabit switch in it, unlike this one. But there's one more in the series. The highest trim model for the EX00 series, and that is the E3000. It also does 5 gigahertz, but on top of that, it has a USB port and a dedicated power switch. So you can add storage devices to it. It's also significantly bigger than even the E2000, and the E1000 just looks absolutely tiny compared to it. Now, if we're gonna talk Linksys routers, we can't talk about the one that made Linksys so popular in the first place, and that is the, the WRT 54G series. Here I have one of the original WRT 54Gs. This is the V3 model. So this was Linksys's one of their very first, well, I don't know if it was their very first, but it was their very first popular router, because these routers ship a Linux-based firmware. They got sued over it, and then they released the firmware for it, and that more or less spawned the entire trend of custom router firmwares. Other than that, it's not really too special. It's got a 10100 switch, 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, and also, it's purple. I have a later revision of that same router, and I will show you. Introducing the, this is, what is this again? This is a WRT 54GS V6. Now, unlike the previous one, this one is a piece of crap, sort of. It doesn't run Linux, instead it runs VxWorks. And the DDWRT has a whole guide on the really complicated way to reflash this boy to run DDWRT. And honestly, I'm probably going to do that, because the stock firmware on these devices leaves a lot to be desired. And, well, if you want to get more use out of these old routers, you're really better off running a custom firmware. On to the next router that I know nothing about because I haven't done anything with it yet. This, despite looking like the E1000, is not an E1000. This is a WRT 160N V2. Similar shape, but as you can see, different model number. I have not tried to put DDWRT on this yet, although I'm pretty sure I probably can. Unfortunately, most of these have too small a flash to put the much better Open WRT on. Open WRT has more Linuxy services. The only one of these, well, two of them can run it. The E3000 is best suited for it, but the E2000 can also run it. But most of these can't, because they have either too small of RAM, too small of flash, or both. But this is just another generic router. I don't have the box for it anymore. But I have another router. This one is finally in a different shape than the WRT 54G shape or this shape. This is a Linksys E1200 router. It's not really anything too fancy to note home about. It's got a basic back. It does, oh, I thought it had a USB port, but it doesn't. It's got a gigabit switch, or no, this is not gigabit. I tested this. This is only 100 megabit. A lot of these routers do not have gigabit, and it's kind of annoying. I believe I have a oh, yeah, that, this one keeps losing its feet, so I gotta put the feet back in, just like this. Here I have, oh look, another foot. Man, I need to, like, get some super glue or something, glue this guy's feet back on. There we go. I have a plastic bag, inside of which we have this is another WRT160N, but that last one I believe was a V2 model. This is the original. It even got its own weird looking power supply. It looks interesting, but it looks exactly like the other one. You can't even tell the difference. I do have all of the old software for it. Oh, hey, look, a receipt. How much did they pay for this thing? They paid $50 for that thing? Oh man, that's a fucking ripoff. Anyway, I still have the disc for it too, although I don't think they ever really shipped anything that important on the discs, so you can just safely ignore it. So, yeah, this one can go back in its plastic bag. And I believe I have another one to show you, but for once it's not a Linksys. It's a cable modem. I got this from, I believe somebody was living in like a trailer, and they just had this for some reason. It came with this, so I assume this is how they were getting their internet, and then they ran it into this for some reason. But as far as I know, this has no custom firmware support whatsoever, so it's not really that useful. That's what you get buying old routers. And finally, I have another, not router, but surprisingly, DDWRT still supports it. This is a vintage Linksys range extender. As you can see, it's just a little thing that you plug into the wall, and it has an antenna on it. So it's not really anything worth a damn, unfortunately, but this can actually run DDWRT. Now, why would you run DDWRT? I don't have an answer to that question. Like, this thing is fucking pointless. There's not even an Ethernet port on it. What are you supposed to do with this thing? I do have two more unused routers that I can show off in this video, so I'm gonna go get them and I'll be right back. So, the last router that is unused, that's part of the spare router collection, is this thing. Oh shit. Is this thing. This is a Linksys Velop. It's part of their mesh Wi-Fi system, and I hate these fucking things. Their default firmware is terrible. They make you use a mobile app to set it up the right way. They crippled the web UI for setting it up, and these things are fucking not worth it on their default firmware. So I actually have three of these. One of them is my new primary router, because it's running OpenWRT, and it's so much better running OpenWRT. Like, the main problem that I have with most routers is their default firmware is just horrible. But you can breathe new life into most of these old devices by installing DDWRT for most of the older Broadcom MIPS devices, or OpenWRT for some of the newer devices. Like this is actually a quad-core ARM chip, and most of these are MIPS. Like, this is definitely MIPS, and so is this. But yeah, sorry for the short video. I thought I'd show off my router hoard, and this is all I got. I have a couple more routers, but they're busy doing stuff. Like, I have a Netgear in the basement that's running my 3D printer. But yeah, that's all I got for routers. I hope you at least found this video funny, because I have way too many of these goddamn things and I have no idea what I'm going to do with half of them. Catch you later.